My life mission has been to help people solve problems.
How do you balance the demands of leading a rapidly growing healthcare platform with your personal life and your family?
I believe that people know what it feels like to feel good, and they know what it feels like to feel bad. And if given the choice, they want to feel good. We have a family motto of surround yourself with growth-oriented, growth-minded people.
I think it's such an important thing to understand the story and the why of an individual.
I have a belief that you have to work on the business, not just in the business.
Welcome to the podcast From Cold to Close. My name is Saeed and I'm the founder here at SRC Growth Partner, a company that works with professional services firms from around the world to help them increase their revenue and profitability by acquiring new clients. My guest today is Jimmy St. Louis, the CEO of Agentis Longevity, a longevity healthcare platform helping patients live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Backed by Shore Capital, Agentis partners with leading providers to deliver innovative treatments and services, including hormone optimization and peptides to optimize health span and vitality. Jimmy is the former CEO of Franchise 123, a leading global marketplace for franchise growth, as well as the managing partner of AliRx, a transformative health platform that provides personalized food prescriptions. He was also the founder of Regenerative Medicine Solutions, a leading medical company with a focus on cellular therapy and a mission to treat the untreatable. His business career includes 5 years as COO and managing partner of the Laser Spine Institute, an organization that grew from 9 employees to over 1,000 and an annual revenue of over 200 million per year. Following LSI, Jimmy and his partners started Advanced Healthcare Partners, a healthcare management and consulting agency for specialized medical services and technologies. Jimmy, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Saeed, and looking forward to having a nice conversation. And thank you for the warm introduction.
Yeah, no, that's quite a rap sheet, I have to say, Jimmy. You've got a massive career there behind you. You're a serial entrepreneur from the sounds of things, starting businesses left, right, and center, having quite extraordinary success throughout your career. So I'm really looking forward to having you on the podcast, gaining your insights, and having a great conversation in general. Yeah, no, pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Wonderful. Yeah, again, glad to be here and looking forward to diving in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the best place I always like to start off with every single episode of our podcast is really understanding you and your background and where you are today. What got you to where you are today? And what was your journey? And maybe you could share that to our listeners and viewers who might not know who Jimmy is.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the chance to share here. I think it's interesting the journey that we go on in life and how different past lives oftentimes have the opportunity to merge together and to converge into an opportunity. And my life mission has been to help people solve problems. Oftentimes that has been through innovative healthcare opportunities where people may have struggled. And that can mean more efficient care, it can mean more affordable care, it can mean more innovative healthcare to disrupt parts of the healthcare journey that might have been challenging for that patient. So with that part of my business life, I was fortunate to also be able to merge that with my passion from a young age playing sports and had the opportunity to go on and play a couple sports at what I would consider the highest level. Because of that, you really learn how to find the way to rest, recover, and repeat. And I believe the people that do that most efficiently, who also have some God-given talent and skill or size or strength, are the ones that are given the opportunity to move on and become elite athletes. So I was able to, through those two past worlds, say, okay, there's a chance to really help people live longer, healthier, happier lives through creating a longevity platform that is accessible, affordable, trustworthy, one that creates an opportunity for many people in the healthcare market to get out in front of their potential healthcare issues down the road. And merging that with my mindset on sports and athletics and finding the best way to rest, recover, and repeat, it allowed me to conceptualize the thesis to develop Agentis Longevity. Fortunately, I was able to find some great partners and Shore Capital partners to advance this initiative, and we launched this company mid last year. Essentially what we're doing is we are acquiring best-in-class longevity healthcare operations. We are sharing best practices. We are integrating those businesses together to help to expand what we call this honeycomb of healthcare services. So we're spending these next couple of years trying to find a way to elevate the standard of care and establish the standard by merging these companies together to share those best practices.
I love that kind of strategy, and it's really finding the best possible and best practices, as you said, and just merging them all to one to be able to serve more active patients, I would have imagined, and to be able to help the mission more and help more people in the mission. Can you you mentioned that you are a former professional athlete at a very high level, or at the highest level, as you mentioned, over 2 sports. Can you maybe talk to us about that background, the sports that you played?
Yeah, sure.
And then how that has affected how you run and operate businesses and your transition into business?
Well, first, sports are highly translatable into business for a number of reasons. It doesn't mean if you're not a former athlete that you can't find those same translatable skill sets in there, but I do believe that sports provides a direct path as well. And, understanding how to be a good teammate, lead a team, work through adversity, work hard towards a mission and a goal, and also be the best version of yourself to compete every day, not just against other teams, but even against teammates to elevate that standard. That same thing is translatable into the business world for sure. In my life, I had a bit of a fun journey as an athlete. I was part of a military family, so we originally lived in Seattle, Washington, grew up running track and cross country, and that was my first love and really gave me a strong base of endurance, but also taught me how to work hard. Running's a hard sport. Training for running's a hard sport. I did that at a young age, and that gave me the discipline to progress in other sports. And so I had that as a base and had this dream of going on and becoming an Olympic runner. And over the course of my time from a child to becoming a teenager, I kept growing and got relatively big and strong, and the ability to be a middle to long distance runner became more and more challenging as I got bigger and stronger, frankly. My next love was basketball. Played that at a young age, all the way throughout high school as well, and excelled in that sport. But I would tell you what really formed who I am from a work ethic perspective was when I moved to the state of Alabama, and I was running track and cross country and loved basketball. And in the state of Alabama, football is king, right? And so my second to last year, my junior year of high school, I was a cross country star. I was all state in cross country, and it was what I still wanted to go on and do. And the football coach approached me and said, I'd love for you to play football. Your best friend's playing football. At the time, he was the #1 recruit in the country. He said, I think you guys would have a lot of fun playing together. We've got a great team. And so I can't do it. I'm running cross country. He had set it all up for me, built out this model that set me up for success. So I would wake up at 5 a.m. and practice cross country. After school, I'd have football practice. Friday night football games, Saturday morning cross country meets, and I'd run the gauntlet. I did that for those next couple of years. And the hook was I would break the school record, and little did I know also the state record for most varsity letters, which basically means that you played X amount of varsity sports, and had 14 varsity letters by the time I finished up high school. But as I grew bigger and stronger, I also became very good at football. And with my best friend being the #1 recruit in the country, there were a lot of eyes on me as well as a tight end and a receiver. And so I was fortunate to sign a football scholarship to Auburn University and went on and had success in college. And then was fortunate enough to have a good enough college career, despite the fact that I had 2 season-ending knee injuries, to sign a contract with the Tennessee Titans and have the opportunity to set foot on an NFL football field. So that was a great journey. It was a lot of fun. I didn't in particular stop my love for competition and my love for working hard towards something that may be physically challenging. So after football and during the time when I was beginning my business career, I continued on. I was competing at a high level in triathlons, traveled the world and did over 50 triathlons between the ages of 25 and 33. And I was doing CrossFit, had the chance to compete in the CrossFit Games and was a regionals qualifier 4 years in a row. And I stumbled into the sport of rowing and ended up being pretty good at it, but little did I know there's a big difference between being good on a rowing machine and being good in a rowing boat. but I decided to embark down a 2-year journey to compete to attempt to make the U.S. Olympic rowing team, and spent time at the Olympic Training Center, competed at a high level, finished in the top 3 in 2 different events in the Olympic trials, and just had this great opportunity to merge my strength in football with my cardiovascular fitness from running, and it converged into another fun, challenging physical endeavor where I went on and won 5 national medals in that sport, and that was just one more way that continued to shape who I am as a person. So I know it's a bit long. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
No, I think it's such an important thing to understand the story and the why of an individual. And for me, just by hearing that, you can hear the journey you've had in terms of sports, health, longevity itself, and it speaks to your mission at the moment to make longevity healthcare a force for good in the current world, I guess. I want to really ask you, what are some of the most significant changes you're seeing in how patients approach longevity and preventative healthcare? I guess you hear a lot of things now about health and things going wrong, things like that. So what are you currently seeing?
Sure. It's interesting. I believe that what happens with essentially the pandemic 5 years ago was it really allowed people to say, there's got to be a more efficient way to understand how to take care of myself. There's got to be a more efficient way for me to gather information about myself without having to travel to all these different specialists. And I think that mindset, along with this shift in the marketplace where people were going to these big box gyms and you start to see boutique fitness gyms start to take over the marketplace, I think people became more and more curious about their health. And we view longevity healthcare as more of a life decision than a health decision, where we believe that people will decide conscientiously to spend some of their money to advance their health and to invest in their health, whether that's nutrition, gut health, physical fitness, hormone optimization. I believe that people know what it feels like to feel good, and they know what it feels like to feel bad. And if given the choice, they want to feel good. And so I think that what we're starting to see is people invest in their own health first through curiosity. Then they're gathering information, which is something that's very important to us, is how do you give people great information? How do you make that information accessible? How do you make it affordable? To give people the opportunity to say, what can I do to learn more about my health so that I can make the best healthcare decisions for myself. So ultimately, that is the beginning stage of what we're starting to see healthcare consumers do, is say, teach me, I want to learn. It's got to be affordable, but now that I've learned, now how do I take action on that? And that's what I believe is the holy grail, is gathering good, solid information to build trust with healthcare consumers and giving them a path to invest in their health in a manner that they may not have had access to before.
Yeah, I think what you said there is spot on, in the sense that you're seeing a huge health wave that's arrived over, I think, the last 15 years. And more so when you see things like the Aura Ring or the Whoop bracelet that measures your sleep, helps you track all these things. I guess it's allowing people to have more information, but then having a way to be able to apply that information to go, okay, well, this is what I need to do. How do I become more healthy? So I think it's really interesting. Your business model is obviously, as you mentioned, acquiring best-in-class longevity healthcare practices. What criteria do you use to identify these kinds of practices, and what's your approach to preserving their excellence whilst, I guess, scaling?
Sure. Yeah, so as we look through partners that we would like to acquire, we first want to make sure that they fit what we would call the growing honeycomb of services. So when you think about the services in longevity, you think about best-in-class diagnostics first, which is things like hormone panels, genetic testing, gut health, nutrition, body composition, cardiometabolic testing, cognitive function testing. We want to be sure that these clinics are doing something that can inform the overall patient journey with good education. Next, from a service offering, you think about hormone optimization, you think about peptide treatments and therapies, you think about regenerative medicine therapies, you think about more advanced things out there that are towards helping to reduce people's inflammation, like ozone therapy or therapeutic plasma exchange. We want to underwrite those treatment offerings and be sure that what they're doing is effective and is best in class. And if they're leading that part of the industry, or if they are leaders in that, how can you then share the best practices to go on and to help to share those best practices across the other clinics and ultimately grow the service offering? So that's what we're looking for from a clinical excellence perspective. We do bring in a team of medical advisors to look at the protocols, to understand the patient journey, and to just make sure that it can integrate well within the rest of our clinics. We do look into certain geographies as well. Although we do anticipate expanding nationwide, we plan on targeting the southeastern states, the Midwest states, and some of the Southwest states, like the bigger cities in Texas as well, to create a strong geographic concentration, to create efficiencies for our operators, as well as to help us dive deeper into markets so we can share best practices within each of those markets.
And I can imagine your partnership with Shore Capital Partners is massively, it allows you to be leveraging their capabilities, and it represents a significant investment in the space, in the longevity space, right? How has private equity involvement shaped your vision and execution strategy, I guess?
Well, one, it's given me the opportunity to learn from other private equity platforms' blueprints and to not make the same mistakes over and over, because we do have great thought partners. One, the great thing about Shore is they're not just a private equity partner, they're a resource partner as well. They've built out centers of excellence within each of the important disciplines that we would need to gain access to within our organization to grow our platform. They bring a number of great board members and advisors to the table for us as well that we can lean into to understand lessons learned and to, again, not repeat mistakes, but more importantly, lean into the model for success. So from that perspective, they've been incredible partners. We don't just meet once a quarter. In fact, we meet weekly to talk about strategy, talk about business updates, talk about the things that we may be trying to solve for, and they've been incredible thought partners for us from that perspective as well.
I can imagine having a board of advisors who have actually been there, done that, have networks, can tell you where to go, what to avoid, the pitfalls, and gives you access to all those opportunities, can be really helpful for your personal growth as well, heading up that growth and going down a direction where you can only learn. And we're a growth podcast. We're all about growth mindset, all about pushing the boundaries and making self-development and improving yourself. And I can imagine just being in a room with that much knowledge, that much information, and that much expertise, it can be intoxicating in terms of the level of knowledge you gain from it. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, you're right. To me, it starts first with my family and then into business. And we have a family motto of surround yourself with growth-oriented, growth-minded people. And that is important both at the personal level as well as the professional level. I believe that stimulating conversation is a great thing. Being around people who are thinking about growth is an important thing. And of course, in private equity, they're always thinking about growth. But what I love about Shore is we think about growth in a smart manner. Right? We, of course, want to accelerate this business, set the standard of care for longevity healthcare, and to be the dominant force in this marketplace. But they also understand that in order to do that, we have to achieve clinical excellence. We have to invest in clinical quality. We have to make sure that we are elevating not just the standard of care, but the opportunity for great outcomes for our patients. And so they've been a great partner from that perspective as well. To me, that's been the flag in the sand, is if we're going to do anything well, it's got to be around clinical excellence, and having a great thought partner like that to help us grow has been fantastic.
In terms of then, as a leader of the business, what leadership lessons from, I guess, your sports career have proven most valuable in building and leading healthcare organization, a platform, and leading a team?
Yeah, I think, to me, this whole thing, no matter what industry you're in, really is about people. And we do some things that are interesting within our organization to educate our teammates about what we're doing so they can live the product that we're basically building as well. We do one thing called Wellness Wednesdays, and we go into a room. Actually, after this, we bring in healthy lunch, and then I teach a course on something new that's important. It could be on sleep health. It could be on metabolic health. It could be on habit stacking with your health. It could be on implementing healthy habits in the workplace. So today's topic actually is on health habit stacking. And to me, when you do interesting things like that, in terms of building out your team from a cultural perspective, it allows people to live within the product that we're working to build.
I can imagine it builds a great culture for the team to follow and strive for, I guess. In terms of then the future, where do you see the longevity healthcare space evolving to in the next 5 to 10 years? And how are you positioning your platform to adapt to things?
Well, I believe we're in pole position, meaning that we are driving the standard, not just setting it, but driving it. And I believe that we are leading it because of the nuances within our mission that are far different. Where I do believe there are some incredible providers out there, there are some incredible technologies. Our goal is to curate those best in class providers and technologies into a journey that is accessible, affordable, that makes sense with the healthcare patient, and one they can trust that drives great outcomes. So from our perspective, we're driving that piece of this and we are in pole position, but you have to surround yourself with great people. So we've built out a team of great medical advisors. We attend industry conferences almost every single month. We're out there on the circuit trying to understand, to learn, to collaborate. And I still go back to what I said earlier about surrounding yourself with growth-oriented, growth-minded people. I believe if you do that, it helps you to continue to spin faster on this flywheel that we're creating, that will allow us to stay in that lead position.
And in terms of then, I guess, are there any like emerging technologies or approaches in healthcare that you're most excited about incorporating into your practices? I know very topical right now is AI. Is it being incorporated in the way you're approaching things? Is it even, can you see it coming into the play if you're not using it right now?
Sure, yes. You have to leverage best-in-class technologies to continue to stay in a lead position and drive that lead position. That's very, very important. Of course, AI is a very broad term, and for us, we implement it into our note-taking capabilities. We implement it into our patient journey in terms of extracting their healthcare information from their labs to create a patient journey that makes sense. We implement it into our assessment of data. So, for example, one thing that might mean is creating a composite proprietary health score on a patient that extracts critical information from the variety of labs that they would do to help them understand where are they from a health perspective and what are those metrics that help to drive their health, and then what are the things that inform those metrics that can change those metrics that they should be doing to improve their health, essentially. On the business side, our partner, of course, as we talked about with Shore Capital, and they do have an AI business unit that they've built out, so we are also leaning into that for some AI-enabled technologies around sales and marketing as well. We are investigating some opportunities to become more efficient, to communicate with prospective patients, to educate them through AI enablement as well. And then, of course, we leverage the basic large language models out there to educate our team and to educate our patients as well.
Sure. I always find it interesting to hear how businesses are currently looking at implementing what's out there at the moment and what's new into the current status. In terms of then, you've touched on it a couple of times now that you mentioned family first, then business, right? And being around growth-minded individuals and things like that. How do you balance the demands of leading a rapidly growing healthcare platform with your personal life and your family? How do you manage that? What is it that you're doing?
I just think that as an entrepreneur, it can feel so consuming, and it is a mission. I'm a mission-driven person, and I believe that in order to incorporate this, what they call work-life balance, I think you just have to explain the mission. You have to set the mission. You have to align with the people around you that are important to you on the mission. And they're along for the journey. What you're doing is exciting to them. They should be a part of that as well. So I do that with my family, right? That is important. The beauty is I'm in a business that's highly adoptable by almost everybody. It's interesting. It's something that is a very hot topic in the world right now. So people always want to learn more about themselves. What's the next testing thing? What's the next product I can look at? What's the next cool clinic that you're looking at? The family can become a part of that. So to me, this is just as exciting to them as it is to me. I think that convergence makes this journey a bit easier. There is a book, I believe it's called Option A or B, and it's about 10 years old, and it talks about this concept of you leave work, you flip on the light switch at home and your world is different. He essentially debunks that, right? I mean, it's not possible to just say, forget all these things and go home and be a totally different person. Now, it of course may not be as interesting to them, or there may be certain things at work that's like maybe they don't care to talk about it, or I'm not, it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, we don't talk about all the things. It would be all consuming, but it's exciting to be able to share. So to me, I think it's a bit easier when you have a strong passion and you've aligned your family towards that passion. And then they're not just along for the ride, but they're encouraging of the journey as well.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with that. Even when I'm working all the time, right? And my wife, I can share a lot of what I do, but there's obviously some things that she's more interested in and some things she's just like, I don't need to hear this. I just like, whereas me, I'm passionate about it all, everything. I can talk about everything all the time. So I 100% know exactly where you're coming from with that. This section of the podcast we like to call the Entrepreneur's Room. And this is a series of questions we like to ask all of our guests to give our viewers and listeners an opportunity to understand how business owners and leaders think and operate in their own business, right? So at this stage of the podcast, I always like to ask and start off with this question. How are you currently spending your days as leader of the business?
I have a belief that you have to work on the business, not just in the business. And it can be easy to get caught up in dialogue, back and forth on email, to lock yourself in the office all day and be on calls. But to me, you have to work on the business and not just in it, meaning think about the big picture. Print out on a wall the strategy that you've decided on and make sure that you understand what those priorities are. So to me, when I think about spending the day, I prefer to spend the off-peak hours answering emails and those things that you can do from anywhere. And I prefer to spend my time in the office, in the field, boots on the ground, talk with the team, see what's going on, do the things that are necessary to be in person to do, and do those things in person. I also am traveling a fair bit, looking at other clinics and spending time with potential partners. I do carve out time every single day to reach out to people I've created connections with and see how they're doing, see what their pain points are, see how their business is doing, find out what's going on in their personal life to create a connection. Since we are looking to partner with and acquire typically smaller organizations. These companies are anywhere from, say, $250,000 of EBITDA up to around $10 million of EBITDA. And so those are, everything from very small to medium size. Because of that, they're typically still owned by a small group of people. And sometimes it's a husband and wife, or sometimes it's just one person. And I've been there before. I've been through the pain and the challenges in terms of growing a business. So I like to reach out and to hear what's going on in their journey. And if there's an opportunity to be helpful, I do that. And then in terms of working on the business, I think about communication strategies with our teammates. I think about ways to help us operate more efficiently. I think about our patients all the time. What are things we can do to improve their journey? I think about our teammates all the time in the field level, in the clinics. What are things we can do to help improve their quality of life and further connect them towards the great work that they're doing? So that's a hodgepodge way of describing a lot of what I do throughout the course of the day. But I do start the day very early. I adopt some healthy habit stacking tactics to be sure that I'm practicing what I preach as well. I sit in front of a full spectrum light. I check my biomarkers. I see how I slept. I see how my recovery is. Early on, I get through a bunch of emails. Then I get into the office relatively early after a workout and just prepare for the day. I take notes of all the main priorities and the non-negotiables I need to complete throughout the course of the day. And then I go spend time on the floor with the team and see how their day's going and see how I can be helpful to them.
I love that. And I love that one of the main things that you mentioned there was working on the business rather than in the business. And I think that's a Michael Gerber quote, it's working on the business. And I think it's such an important thing. And I love asking this question because I always hear different responses from different business leaders. And you always know how they look at their business or how they're operating. And typically the really successful business owners are often saying that, like working on the business rather than in the business, because what they're doing is growing that business and focusing all their attention on growing it and allowing their team to be in the business, right, and work in the business. So I think it's really interesting. What are the most important metrics to you when running your business? What are the ones that matter most?
So we do a very good job of goal setting at the beginning of the year, and we establish our goals based upon the key priorities for the year. So of course, there's going to be some KPIs that are traditional, that are important, right? It's EBITDA, revenue growth, cost per acquisition, those things that help us to dial in on the top and bottom line within the business. We break those out into micro segments by quarter, by clinic. We also track on a daily basis volume, transactions, acquisitions, attrition by product, attrition, acquisition by treatment type, etc. So we are a very, very data-driven organization from that perspective. We do track Net Promoter Score and Employee Net Promoter Score as well. We actually just finished up some surveys for best places to work in healthcare today, and I know our team is doing some of those right now, and it's important for us to have an understanding of the type of environment that we're creating as well for our teammates. And then we also are, of course, tracking our acquisition pipeline. We have targets for the amount of EBITDA that we would like to acquire for the year. Typically, that's met by some type of top line goal in terms of revenue that we're acquiring as well. So those are the core metrics that we look at, frankly, on a daily basis to see how we're tracking.
Yeah, I love that, because I can see that your sports background is really comes into play when it comes to metrics and personal KPIs and making sure you're hitting your targets and things like that. And I imagine your background there has massively influenced the way you look at things as well. So I think that's really interesting. How are you currently growing the business at the moment? What business development, sales and marketing activities are you currently doing to grow the business at the moment? And I know one of the core principles of you growing your businesses in organic growth, you're acquiring businesses, but how are you still growing it without that element?
Sure, yeah, of course, as you said, I think about growth in both organic and inorganic growth, and we have full efforts of a M&A team towards acquiring the right businesses, of course, and that is a time-consuming, involved part of the process, because it's not as easy as finding the business and buying them. Some people aren't ready to partner. Some people don't want to partner. Some are not a right fit. So even though because of our track record, we have a high conversion rate, it can still be a challenging, time-consuming process. On the organic side of things, I first think about how do we meet patients where they are? How do you create healthcare opportunities for people where they are? Price point, affordability, accessibility, health journey, health goals, health ambitions, health history. So on the organic growth side of things, we are always looking for ways to expand and grow the patient journey into modalities that would help to create better outcomes. And frankly, a stickier model that people don't want to leave because they are part of a business or part of a practice that cares for them first. And then we are building out on the organic side much more robust sales and marketing capabilities from these organizations that we acquire. So we have a centralized patient coordination and scheduling team who's here to educate patients, to help inform them of what to expect in the patient journey. And that advocate really serves as a person for those prospective patients to call and talk to learn more about our business as well. We also are entertaining some AI-enabled tools as well to improve the overall patient journey from a screening perspective and from a scheduling perspective as well.
Amazing. You're doing a lot of stuff at the same time. I can imagine it being quite an interesting time for you in the business. In terms of then, as a serial entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a CEO, as a leader, and as a sports athlete, right? I'm sure you've experienced many lessons throughout your life, had some challenges that you've overcome. What is the biggest lesson you'd like to share with us today?
I think resiliency is really important. And you gain that resiliency just through building that muscle. There's going to be very few people in life who get through the majority of life without some type of significant challenge and setback. But it's really about how you respond to that setback, right? And I know that there's a spectrum of challenges and setbacks. Some are self-inflicted, some are external, but we're all going to face those things. And so that's why I think having a North Star is so important. You should identify early on what is your passion. That passion should create your vision. That vision should create the journey, which ultimately serves as your mission, as your life mission. And from my perspective, that's the most important thing. When you have that, you can develop that muscle of resiliency because you have a reason to keep getting up. You have a reason to continue to believe in yourself. You have a reason to be resourceful. You have a reason to figure out where's the silver lining and where are the assets that I've built over time that I can leverage to continue to flex this resiliency muscle, if you will.
I love that. I don't think we've had that response before with that question, but I love it because resiliency was 100%. I can tell you right now, if I didn't have that resiliency muscle when I started my business, then I wouldn't be right here where I am today. And I find with entrepreneurs, a lot of them are more resilient, and even like successful sports athletes, primarily because you have to deal with so much failure, and competition results in failure, difficulties, challenges, and being able to be resilient through them gives you the opportunity to be great afterwards. So I absolutely love that one. Jimmy, final question that I like to end every single podcast with. It's if you had a magic wand you could wave to solve one business problem, what would that be?
Yeah, that's interesting. As I say first, I've never had a bad day at Agentis Longevity. I love what we do. Every challenge is a new problem to be solved. And so I think that's been a motto that we've lived by here as well. But if I had a magic wand, I would say that the number one thing would be, how do you effectively, efficiently, and accurately every day meet a patient where they are and deliver to them excellent healthcare in a manner that is accessible, affordable, easy to understand, that delivers the optimal patient outcome to them. And I believe that's achievable. We'd love to have that magic wand, but that's really a part of the journey that we're on here.
Well, Jimmy, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for sharing your time. For anyone that's listening or watching today, where could they find you? Where would they need to reach out to find you?
Sure. I love the opportunity to have a conversation with new people that are ambitious and interested. So you can, of course, find me on LinkedIn. Of course, my name is Jimmy St. Louis. But text me, 270-366-3699. I'm always open for a conversation and the opportunity to share some notes and to learn along the way as well.
Fantastic. Well, Jimmy, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for the conversation today.
Yeah, thank you, Saeed. I really enjoyed it, and congratulations to your success in growing your show here. And it was an honor to have the chance to be a part of it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.